Okay, this is going to be a quick tutorial on doing the mermaid scales. I don't do a full cup, but you can do a full cup. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I have my scales cut out, and I've already used this page, so there's some taken. I do my scales. There's full rows of scales. There's sets of 2, sets of 3, and then single scales. That works best for the way that I do my cups. You can make a file like this in Silhouette. You just take a circle, put another circle inside, and then you would make them into a compound path and then cut it in half. So that's how the circles were made, but we're going to go ahead and get started. This cup is already glittered and epoxied, and this is color changing dust inside the epoxy, so when the cup is warm, it gets dark, and when the cup is cold, it turns like a silver color. So we're going to go ahead and get started. In the beginning, I do place full rows of scales, and then I move on to just doing the small rows of 3 and 2. I just want to pull the flat part of the scale up to the top. Line it up best you can. And the cup that I'm doing here, this is a 20-ounce hog cup. This is the nice boring part about doing these cups, or laying all the scales. There would be your first row of scales. And I try to do 2 or 3 rows around the top to get started. You're just going to place your next scale. I'll start over here since that's the back. Right in the center of one of the round parts of the scale to get them going. Okay. Let go. I'm trying to keep that from sticking down there, and hold the cup so that you guys can see what I'm doing. We're just placing where the 2 scales meet, just in the center of the curve on the scale above. If you can see, I'm messing with a cup and it's changing colors. It was really dark, and now it's turning to just like a silver color. Show this one. There's our second. You can see the color change. It's light here and still dark down here. Okay, so we have, let's move on to some sets of 3. And I might do a whole set of 3 around all of the cup. I ran out of full rows. So, and this one I just hold it in the center and place it down. Just grab it in the center. And I try to use my fingers to hold it up so it doesn't stick while I'm trying to do the placement. Oops. And the nice thing about the scales is they're easy to adjust and move. So it's never, and I'm using, you need to use removable vinyl so that you can peel these scales back off after we glitter the cup. So that is definitely one thing you need to do. I don't know if it's 651 or 631 because I use a different kind of vinyl. But you definitely need to use a removable vinyl because you're going to peel these scales off when you're done. Like I said, I'm just using my fingers to hold the ends away so they don't stick while I'm trying to place the scale where I want it. And you could go all the way down and scale the whole cup if you wanted to. I've never done a whole cup in scales, so I like the way that these scales look when they're just part on the cup. And if you come to one where it will, because it will kind of start to overlap, just kind of cut it off. That way your scale still goes up. And now we're going to start coming down and doing the dip downs with the other scales. And this is all about preference. Wherever you want it to go, however you want it to look, is kind of what you do at this point. Some twos. This is all about just random, wherever you choose to do it. There's no rhyme or reason where the scales go. Single scales. Okay, we're going to go around the bottom. And this is, again, just preference. If you don't want your scales to be upside down on the bottom, you don't have to. And again, how you place them, where you place them is totally up to you. Hey. And if you're wondering where I got my tweezers from, if you search on Amazon, I think they're surgical tweezers. Works great for you doing with vinyl. And then I need a single scale back there. No, I'm not going to put that on there. Okay. Once you have all the scales that you want on there, you want to go ahead and tape. If you're doing a full glitter from top to bottom, you don't have to do this next step, but I do the stainless steel showing at the top and bottom on my cups, so I need to cover the stainless steel before I spray my adhesive on there. And that's pretty much all I'm going to do, is just run the tape right around the top. And if you put a little tab on there, it makes it easier to peel the tape when you're done. There's the top. Okay. And the bottom. And now I do my adhesive. I don't use Mod Podge. I'm not good at Mod Podge. So I use the Loctite. Make sure when you're using Loctite that it's the green label. That's the best one to use for this application. I'm going to put it on a football so I can put it over my trash can and go ahead and spray the Loctite right quick. It doesn't take much, and we're going to do this in 2 coats, so as you can tell, that was cold, so it turned the cup black. Okay, and now we get to pick our colors. What do I want? What do I want? Okay, I think I'm gonna go with these 2. I'm gonna do the scales blue. Now, in order to do the scales, I'm gonna put this. You just sprinkle right where the scales are just get like a little pile on there, and then I use my finger to push it around so it doesn't go into the other part where the pink is going to go. Like, you want to make sure you keep the colors separated so that it gives it the two-tone look. And sometimes it takes 2 coats, sometimes it only takes 1 coat of glitter. This is covering pretty good, so might only take 1 for this one. This may be the part where you want to fast forward. Okay, so we have the bottom part done. Now we're going to move on to the top. I guess you could use a paintbrush with this if you wanted to, but you need to be careful. Here we go. We have the blue on. Go ahead and put this blue back in the bottle. Okay. Now the pink's only going to stick where you see the black. I'm kind of rub it into. Yep, the pink might need 2 coats to cover up that black. Okay, so now I'm going to do another coat of Loctite. I'll move the pink off out of the way and get another piece of paper. Bottom's done. Blue. We'll go back to the pink. I don't know what is going on with this. It's really wet. I don't know why it's so chunky. Okay, so now that you have your cup coated, I'm just going to push these glitters out of the way. Put them away when I'm done. You're going to want to seal your glitter. Let me get my can. I have to go outside and spray it, but this is the glitter sealer. I'm going to go outside and do a quick coat to seal the glitter before we can peel the scales. I'll be right back. Okay, now that we have it sprayed, I'm going to go ahead and peel the tape. You do want to make sure that you give the glitter sealer plenty of time to dry before you start to pull the scales, or you'll probably pull the paint up, or the glitter up. And then you just want to find a spot where you can see the scale and just start pulling it. And it'll expose the scale below, or the glitter below. Kind of excited about this color changing, the in between the scales going from silver to black. I think it's going to make the cup look different when it changes. There you go. We have one row of scales peeled. Just move on to the next. It literally is all there is to it. I'm sure you don't want to sit and watch all of this, so I'll peel it and be back. Okay, so we have it completely peeled. Now that you have it peeled, you would, if you don't want the epoxy all the way to the bottom or to the top, you would retape and then put your epoxy. If you want your epoxy to go all the way to the bottom of the top, you would put this on the turner and epoxy. Once you do your one coat of epoxy, of course you want to check it, make sure that there's no lumps or bumps, and after you do that coat is when you would add like the decal or something like that on it, and then you would add a second coat of epoxy to seal in your decal. Thanks for watching.